Okay, we're now recording. Okay, so let's get started. We're going to try to get through a bunch of stuff today because we're getting close to the end of contracts, but there's still a bunch of stuff to do that I would like to see if there's any possibility of finishing it today. Last class, we spent a bunch of time doing a big review of the first part of contracts. What is the offer, the acceptance, consideration, intention, and certainty? And last time we got to talking about the intention. That's where we were. So I expect you guys know offer, acceptance, and consideration. We spent like probably 45 minutes reviewing all of that stuff last time, so we're not going to do that today. But let's just jump in with where we are. So this is Contracts 1, Part 2. And we'll go back to the beginning of intention. Make sure we all got that. Here. Okay. So we started last class with the definition and the test for intention. And I said intention generally means that you have to intend to make a contract. You can't make a contract by accident. Contracts are not accidental. And I told you the objective test, that's the fly on the wall test. Junpyo, can you remind us what that means?
Fly cannot joke, so like he is very objective.
So what does the fly on the wall test mean?
So like the contract is usually done what it said.
Say it again.
So and contract is always done like what it said between two people.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand. A contract is always done.
Like what is written, or
no, this has nothing to do with what is written. Can somebody explain the fly on the wall test to me?
There is no private intentions or written meanings, so the fly cannot understand subjective matters.
That's exactly what Junpyo said. I mean, yeah, you're right. But it's not a real fly, right? You understand that. That's a metaphor.
Yes.
There's not really a fly on a wall. I mean, it's not a real thing. This is a legal test. There is no fly. That's just a way to understand this test. You know, this test is not about a fly.
Yeah.
Right? What's this test?
It's like you cannot say, I pretend to intend something. The moment you intend to make a contract, that's it. There is no written, I was trying to intend, but now I changed my mind or something like that.
So how do we know if there is intention? I mean, I'm still asking the same question. How do we know if two people intend to make a contract? And you say the fly is objective. That doesn't mean anything. The fly doesn't understand sarcasm. I mean, that you're not answering the question. How do we know if two people intended to make a contract? Junpyo, how do we know if two people intended to make a contract?
Like if there is an offer, like you get the offer.
Intended. We're talking about intention to create relations. We're not talking about offer. We're not talking about acceptance. We're not talking about consideration. If you did not prepare for class, you will probably fail the final exam. I don't mean this class, I mean in general. If you guys are showing up to class without reviewing the notes or doing any preparation, you will probably fail the final exam. Okay, I've taught this for 10 years. This isn't the kind of thing that you study in a week before the exam staying up late. If you don't know what we're doing in this class, you're gonna have a problem. Okay, this is university. So we're not talking about offer or acceptance or consideration. We're not talking about void and voidable, about bilateral and unilateral. We're not talking about all those things that I expect you to know. You know, that's one of the real problems this semester of having these online classes is students are not taking any notes. They're just like looking at the PPTs and thinking they can memorize it in a week. And I have bad news for you if that's what you think. So intention is not about offers. Intention is about making a contract on purpose, right? You must intend to make a contract. Contracts cannot be accidental. How do we know if two people intended to make a contract? We have a test called the objective test. And that says we look at what did the parties do. That's what we look at. What did the parties do? So what does that mean? What did the parties do? Right? This objective test, it's not about private intentions. That's what you feel or what you think. It's not about what you feel or what you think. It's about what you do. Now, there's a problem here. This is literally on the PPT. It was literally the next slide. So the fact that nobody's able to give me an answer to something you should have done already that was on the next slide is seriously problematic. It's only week 9 now. We have another 7 weeks, maybe 6 weeks before the final test. But this is contracts is a big part of the test. If you don't know it, you're not going to pass. So the objective test is what did the parties do? What the parties did. Did they shake hands? Did they say yes? Did they take money out of a wallet? Did they sign a piece of paper? That's possible. That could be something they did, but it's not necessary that they signed a piece of paper. Now, last class, we looked at all of the reasons why a contract must be written. And aside from those 6 reasons, a contract does not have to be written. So I expect you all know now the reasons that a contract must be written. I'm guessing you don't, but the expectation is that you should. So we have the objective test. Now, there's also 2 kinds of agreements. There's commercial agreements and there's social agreements. So we're talking again about this intention to make a contract. Let's say that I'm doing business with my father. Okay, my father has a business where they sell computers. And, I work with my father. And my father says to me, David, if you sell more than 100 computers this month, I'll give you 10% of the profits. And I say, oh, wow, thanks, Dad. Do people usually make very formal contracts or agreements with their parents? Or is it more informal, Crystal?
Family is more informal.
So if I promise my sister, hey, if you give me $1,000, I'll give you my bicycle. It's a contract. I made an offer and she accepted it, but did we intend to make a binding legal contract? Probably not. So the court has this presumption. We presume that people did not intend to create a contract with their husband or their wife or their social friends or their parents, their brother and sister. Can you create a contract with your parents? Sure. If you want it to be formal, make it formal, write it down. If you want a contract with your father, okay, there's no problem with that. But if there's no evidence that this was intended to be a serious contract, the court's probably not going to look at it as a serious contract. Now, in business, on the other hand, if I made sort of let's say I said to Crystal, if you sell more than 100 of my computers at my store this month, I'll give you 10%. And you were like, oh, great. And I sent it to you on a WeChat. So you have some evidence. There's no signed contract, but there's some evidence that I said this. And then you sell 200 computers. And I say, oh, no, Crystal, I was just kidding. That was just like, yeah, I'll give you a little bit of money, but I'm not going to give you 10%. Now, in the court, they would assume, the presumption is that we did intend to form a contract. Because I wouldn't say that to an employee or to an associate unless I kind of meant it. What did I do? What did I do openly to show that I intended to form a contract? In this case, I sent you a WeChat. Is that enough? Sure. The fly on the wall saw I typed the WeChat saying, I will give you 10%. That's everything that the fly saw me do. So remember, this test is not about the fly. This test is about what did the parties do. That's the key idea. Not what did the parties think, not what did the parties feel. What did the parties say, and what did the parties do? What was said and what was done. And this is the key idea, what was said and done. Now, there are times that, we looked at our case last class. We looked at Embry v. Hargadine. And in this case, it was an employee who said to the boss, I don't have a contract for next year. Do you want me to go to work? And the boss said, go ahead, you're all right. Get your men out and don't let that worry you. And Nicola, was this a contract?
Yes.
Yes, it was, right? Because we only know what the boss said. We don't know what the boss felt or what the boss secretly meant. We only know what he said and what he did. And what he said and did is he said this sentence. And so that's enough. Now, there are times where we know that a person's not being serious. So if I said, Harry, I'll sell you my I just bought a brand new Porsche. And you say, oh my God, David, that's an amazing car. And I'm like, I know, man, but you're my friend. I'll sell it to you for 10 RMB. Now, if you give me 10 RMB, do we have a contract? Well, on the one hand, what I said and did makes it look like I have a contract. What if I said, in that example, Harry, do you think I was serious that I would sell it to you for 10 RMB?
Yeah, I guess so, if you said it.
But if we're friends, is that something somebody would really do?
Not really. It's a bit strange to offer 10 RMB for a car. Or sell
Here's
a car
something,
for 10 RMB.
I know people who've actually done this. When they were like 16, my friend Matt did this. When he was 16, he got his first job. And so he wrote his brother a check for $1 billion. Or maybe he was 18, he'd just gotten checks from the bank for the first time. So he wrote his brother a check for $1 billion and said, here you go, brother, no date, it's $1 billion, I'll give it to you. Do they have a contract to give him $1 billion? Is that real?
Probably not.
Why not? It's a check that says $1 billion.
Between the two parties, because they're family, I guess it could be seen as a joke. But in law, I guess it could be a contract.
My house is worth $900,000. Harry, you always talk about how much money you have, but I think you're just bragging, and I want to make fun of you because I am tired. Every time we go out for drinks, I'm not rich, but I always pay for the drinks, and you don't really buy around. And then you always brag about how in the future, you're going to have a bunch of yachts and boats and you're going to have a mansion. And I'm like, I got to shut this guy up. And I say, you know what, Harry, you're all talk. I'll sell you my house for $20,000. Now, I'm just kidding because I don't think you have any money. And we're out with Tiffany. You're there too. And I say, Tiffany, can I borrow your lipstick? And she says, sure. So I take her lipstick because I don't have a pen, and I take a cocktail napkin from the bar, and I write $20,000 for my farm or my house, and I write that in lipstick, and you and we both sign it. And I say, here you go, Harry, here's your contract. Now the next day, Harry starts to borrow money from people, and he gets $20,000, and he says, David, you have to sell me your house. And I say, look, my house was worth almost $1 million. There's no way I'm selling it to you for $20,000. I was kidding. Harry, did you know I was kidding?
At the time, I guess not.
What did the fly on the wall see?
What we said and done.
What did I say?
You said you'd sell me your house for $20,000.
And the fly follows us around. It's not just in one place. It goes wherever we go. So what did it see you do?
It saw me borrow money to try and get the $20,000.
Is that the kind of thing you would do if you knew I was just kidding?
Definitely not.
Definitely not. And I have to sell you my house. Now, this is a really, really famous case. And in fact, the contract they wrote was in lipstick on toilet paper. Because it doesn't matter what you write a contract in. It doesn't have to be black ink. It doesn't have to be on a nice piece of paper. That makes no difference. Now here it was plaintiff and defendant were drinking together. Defendant had a farm that was worth almost $1 million. And the facts are exactly the same. He was tired of Mr. Lucy always bragging. He said he would sell it for $50,000 as a joke. But the thing is, $50,000, that's not a joking amount of money. Was the house worth that? No, the house was worth $1 million. Doesn't matter. $20,000, $50,000. This people, you know, they don't earn this in a whole year. That's a very real amount of money. And then Mr. Zehmer went out and got the money. And they said, yeah, the court said, yeah, this is enforceable. This is the classic example of the objective test for intention. The court will look at the person's words and acts. If the words and acts reasonably demonstrate an intention to agree, it is irrelevant what the unexpressed intentions were. My unexpressed intentions were, I'm just kidding, you're bragging. I want to shut you up. That was my unexpressed intentions. Doesn't matter. All that matters is what I said and what I did. We have this proof on the cocktail napkin. Tiffany was there with us. Maybe some other people were around. They saw this happen. Then you went out and you raised the money. That's it. It matters what you said and what you did. Now, this led to a new rule in law. And the rule was called the just kidding rule. And the rule now says, if you know someone is kidding, you cannot do what Mr. Lucy did. You know, Mr. Lucy knew, seriously, he knew that Mr. Zehmer was kidding, but he also knew a little bit about the law. So he was like, oh, Mr. Zehmer, do you want to make me look like an idiot in front of my friend Tiffany? You want to make me look small? Here's what's going to happen. I don't think you understand how contract law works. So you were dumb enough to write down a contract on a napkin with lipstick, thinking that wasn't a good contract, but it was. But after that, they made a new rule called the just kidding rule. And the just kidding rule says, if both people know that you're just kidding, then there's no contract. If one person thinks it's real, then there's a contract. How do you prove that someone knows it's real? You can't. This is the same thing that makes criminal law so difficult. If I say, oh, it was an accident, I didn't mean to push him in front of the bus. How do you prove that it was on purpose? And that is a whole big area of law that we don't really talk about very much in business law because it's not really relevant. This idea of, do you have what we call a mental state or a mens rea in Latin? In criminal law, this is very important. You know, it's the difference between murder and manslaughter. Very, very different crimes. It's the difference between criminal negligence and regular negligence, which is just an accident. And you don't get punished very seriously for an accident, but you get punished very seriously for hurting someone on purpose. So it's very hard to prove this, you know, that someone was just kidding. Now, what if, though, I wasn't kidding, I was drunk? How do things change then? Carlotta and Caitlin, still like you to turn your videos on if you can. So my house is worth $900,000. Harry and I are out drinking by Joe. Now, Harry's a good drinker, but I get drunk quickly. And after a few hours, I'm so drunk, I can barely stand up. You say, hey, David, how about you sell your house for $1,000? And I said, I love you. You're my best friend. I agree. And we sign a contract. Is it valid? Well, it's hard because the fly on the wall doesn't understand anything except what was said and what was done. That's all it understands. And it saw me agree to a contract with you. That's what it saw. And so originally in contract law, that would have been a contract. It would have been me being stupid. Don't get that drunk and talk business. But the legislature in all countries have created rules about intoxication to prevent this. Now, intoxication can be anything that gets you inebriated. So it could be alcohol and it could be drugs. Carlotta, you there? Carlotta? No. Caitlin, are you there?
Yes.
Okay, Caitlin, you and I are, let's say I sell, what do I sell? I sell books, okay? I sell books, and you have a business that you have a school, and I want to sell you some books. So you and I are hanging out, we're doing a bunch of cocaine, and I say, hey, Caitlin, and so we just did, you know, a nice big line of cocaine, and I say, Caitlin, you got something white under your nose. Now, okay, so let's talk about these books. I'd like to sell you, you know, 1,000 books, $10 each. And you're like, okay. And, you know, I give you a contract, you sign it, we do some more cocaine on the contract, and then we separate for the night. Do we have a contract?
No, because we're intoxication is also cocaine, so it's invalid.
Why? Was there
Because
anything
we were both-
illegal about the contract?
No, but because both of us were high and not in the right mind.
We weren't that high. I mean, come on, Caitlin, you're good at doing cocaine. We weren't that high. I mean, we're just a little, we're Saturday high, you know? We're not like Christmas high.
Then, well, if you and I are able to both react and understand what's happening, then yeah, I think it'd be fine.
Yes, it is fine. So the court doesn't care if you smoke pot or you got drunk or you did cocaine. That has nothing to do with anything. You know, if you want to sue me for illegal possession of a drug, okay, that's a totally separate thing in law. It has nothing to do with contracts at all. There are two questions here. Did you understand what was happening? Now, what did you need to understand? The nature and consequences. So this, number one, is mental. And number two is physical. So if Caitlin and I were out drinking with a bunch of friends, and Caitlin, I'm so drunk that I can barely stand up, and you offer me a contract to sell you books, and you put the pen in my hand, and you like move my hand to sign my name, I'm not able to react. I can't hold the pen myself. We don't have a contract. How do you prove that? Other people around, or you had it on video, or so. It's the only way to really prove it. Or I admit it, you know, but if you say David was not drunk and I say I was so drunk, I barely remember what happened. How are we going to prove it? It's going to have to be witnesses or video or something, audio recording, you know, something like that. Number one is more mental or cognitive. So if we're making a contract and we're doing any sort of drug, we're smoking pot, whatever, and I say, you know, I want you to sell me these books. And Caitlin says, books, 1,000 books at $10 each. That's like $1 million for me. Okay, like she doesn't, you're just too high. Can you hold the pen? Sure. Could you walk in a straight line? Sure. But you're not quite understanding the nature of what we're talking about. Or, you know, you don't understand what books I mean, or you don't understand the consequences of how much money this really is. Anything like that, we don't have a contract. You're just too inebriated or intoxicated. Those words mean the same thing, just high or drunk. So the court doesn't care if you use drugs. but it's all about how inebriated or intoxicated you are. So two things, and I do expect you to know these, about can you understand mentally what's going on, and then can you react physically? If I say, will you sell me your car, and you can't even take the keys out of your pocket, we don't have a contract. And if I say, will you sell me your car, and you don't really understand, you're like, yeah, man, I love cars. I'll sign my name, sure, because you're my best friend. It's like you're not understanding exactly what I'm talking about. And this goes to intention also, right? Did you intend to make a contract? Now, when Caitlin and I were doing drugs, did we intend to make a contract? Sure. Well, then there's a contract, right? The contract's not about cocaine. Caitlin, could I make a contract with you to sell you cocaine?
Yeah.
No, I can't make a contract to sell you cocaine. That's an illegal contract because the contract itself is about something illegal. Caitlin, can I make a contract?
If you guys both do illegal acts, you might do other illegal acts. So you're both illegal people. Would that still count, or no? Is that just because?
There's no such thing as an illegal person.
Okay.
If you're describing our character, that I often steal things, and I often cheat on my taxes, and I often break my promises, and I often sell drugs, and you know this about me, this goes to my character. And you could prove in court that maybe I have a character that is not trustworthy. It doesn't mean I never do trustworthy things. It doesn't mean every contract is invalidated. It's about what is the contract for. We're making a contract for books. There's nothing illegal about that. But if we make a contract for drugs, that's illegal. Is that clear? Any questions? So it's okay to drink with someone and talk business. It's okay to smoke pot with someone and talk business. It's fine. There's no problem with that. They don't necessarily know that, which can benefit you. You could always make a business deal and call them up the next day and say, oh my God, I was so messed up last night. I didn't mean that. They don't know. Now, if they do know law, they might say, no, you can't do that. But they might not know the law. Okay. We don't have to look at this last one. That's all I want to say about intention. Last one is certainty of terms. So certainty of terms is the easiest. The objective test and the rule is everything in a contract has to be clear. If I say, hey, Junpyo, I'll sell you my car for $1,000 cash on Monday. It's not a good contract. What Monday? What car? It's just not clear. $5,000 cash? Cash what? American cash? It's just not clear enough. And the terms in a contract have to be clear. We know the offer needs to be clear, definite, and precise, but everything in a contract really does need to be clear. There's only one time that a contract doesn't have to be clear, really. So let's say, for example, prices, dates, names, locations, everything. If I made a contract that I'll sell you 5,000 dresses. Oh, I'll buy them. I'll buy 5,000 dresses. And I make a contract to a company in China saying they should deliver it to America for just a little money in an okay amount of time. Is that a good contract? No, of course not. Right? It's just not clear. The price wasn't clear. The date wasn't clear. The name wasn't clear. The location wasn't clear. Maybe the quality, the quantity, everything has to be clear. However, there are two situations where it's sometimes not clear. Let's say that Tiffany, your family sells baijiu. Everybody understand what is baijiu? Like a Chinese liquor? Yeah, Junpyo, you ever drink baijiu?
Yeah, I have.
Good. Okay, Tiffany, your family sells baijiu. Now, I think the baijiu that Tiffany's family makes, that your family makes, is the best. Absolutely the best in China, the best I've ever had, and I want to sell it in New York City. So I want to be the sole distributor. I don't want anybody else selling your baijiu but me. I mean, your family doesn't make 1 million bottles of it. It's not that much. It's a specialty product that you make. You've made it for generations, and maybe you make 1,000 bottles or 2,000, whatever you make. I want it all. Okay, I already run a business in New York selling liquor to different bars, so I can definitely take it. I can use it. I can distribute it, no question. We were in China. I tried it out. I met you. I want it all. So we make a contract, and it says I, David, will be the only seller of Tiffany's baijiu, and I will buy however much baijiu you make. Now, I don't know if you know, Tiffany, but with alcohol, like with wine or something, can you guarantee exactly, can you know today exactly how much liquor you will make after the harvest?
Probably not.
No, you can't, right? With wine, you collect grapes. With different kinds of liquor, you collect different, whether it's corn or potato or sorghum or rye or whatever is used to make this liquor. There's no way to precisely know today how much you will produce. However, no matter how much you produce, I want to buy it all. Now, is that certain? Well, it's not a number. It's not saying I'll buy 200 bottles or 2,000 bottles. It's not a number. But at the same point, it is a number. It's an exact number. We just don't know the number today. We will know the number in the future. After the harvest, when you make the liquor, then you'll know the number. So it's almost like we're putting a blank space in our contract that says to be written later. And we both agree that whatever number that is later, that's what goes there. And that's okay. That's called an output contract. That's where the producer, that's Tiffany, agrees to sell the entire production to the buyer. And I, the buyer, agree to purchase the entire output. This is called an output contract. Why would I do this? Well, as I said, I want to be the only seller. You do this in a situation where you don't know how much of something someone's going to produce. And usually this is for food or drink, almost always. I guess it's possible that it's for art, if Tiffany is a painter. And I don't know how many paintings she'll make this year, but however many she makes, I want them all. That's fine, we can do that. But it's not going to be for something you could predict perfectly. But it's totally okay to make this contract even though it's not certain because we don't have an exact number. Now let me switch the example. Let me say that I run a restaurant in New York, a couple of restaurants. And Tiffany, same example. I went to China and we tried this baijiu and I love it. And I said, Tiffany, I want to sell this in all of my restaurants. However, I don't know today how many bottles I'm going to need. I love this baijiu and I want to sell it in all of my restaurants. But I can't tell you today exactly how many bottles I'll need. I might need 10, I might need 100, I might need 1,000. Are you willing to sell me all the baijiu I need, assuming you have enough? If you don't have enough, then fine. But assuming that you have enough, will you sell me all I need? And you say yes. Now, again, we don't know the number today of how much I'm going to need. But that will be a number. We'll know it at the end of this quarter or this year. At that point, we'll look at all the receipts and we'll say, well, over this year, I bought 800 bottles from you. And now we can take that 800 and put it in the contract as if it was there the whole time. And that's okay too. That's called a requirements contract. However much I require. Do we know how much I require today? No, we don't know today, but we will know at some point in the future. And this is the seller, Tiffany, agrees to supply the buyer, that's me, with as much of a good or service as the buyer wants. What does Tiffany get from me? She gets my agreement not to buy Baijiu from anybody else. So we don't know how much Baijiu my restaurants will use, but however much it is, I promise I'll only buy it from Tiffany. So that's a good contract for Tiffany, because although I am not the only person in the world who sells her Baijiu, she has a certain kind of sole distribution right with me. She is my sole provider of Baijiu. So these are two separate contracts, one in which you are the sole distributor. Sole means only. You are the only distributor of some sort of food or drink or product or painting or art, and you're the only buddy who can distribute this. And that's great if it's a really good quality thing. There's other situations where you're the one who makes something good, and you could be the sole provider. And you provide what you make to a store, and the store promises they won't buy whatever it is, dresses, silk, Baijiu, grapes, paintings, doesn't matter. They won't buy it from anybody else. Now, you could also do this. Let's say that you live in Shanghai and you have a business putting on like debate classes. Okay, you do debate classes for Chinese kids to learn English. And Carlotta has a school. And I say to Carlotta, listen, I know you have a lot of different schools around China. Well, I'd like to make a requirements contract with you that no matter how many debate classes you need, my company provides them. I am the sole provider of debate classes for you. Now, there's a certain amount of trust here because I'm trusting that she won't use another company. I'm trusting that she will still try to have debate classes, but it can be a very good contract. Rather than negotiating a number, we just negotiate sole provider or sole distributor status. And that is the output contract or the requirements contract. I know those are a little tricky. What about this? Junpyo, I have a restaurant in Shanghai, and you have a company that sells fresh fish. And you send me a contract offering to sell me all the fish I need between 5 and 15 kilos for market price. Is this certain enough?
I think there is one part which is uncertain and one part which is certain.
Okay, what do you think is certain?
All the fish need to, I will be offering all the fish that I sell.
Is this a requirements or an output?
Requirement.
Good. Need is the same thing as require, right? All the fish I require. We don't know how many fish I require today, but we can definitely learn that by the end of business. I run my restaurant today. At the end of the day, I know how many fish I required. What about that second part though?
But the market price, it doesn't say like which market, like at which time.
So, okay, and here's something you need to know. There is something called market price. That's an okay thing to say. What is if you ever go to a very expensive restaurant, they might offer lobster, for example, and it will just say market price. If you go to like a 5-star restaurant or something, they don't even have prices for things like fish because the price is different on different days. And you have to trust market price is a thing. It is the price of the fish at the local fish market.
Okay.
Now, you and I could agree on which market. If we didn't agree, it would probably just be the closest or the biggest. It would just have to be a reasonable price. I mean, look, the market in the north side of town and the market on the south side of town, they're not going to be completely different prices. If the south side was more expensive, then all the north side fish would just sell their fish to the south side, and then it would go down. So all the fish markets around town are going to be pretty much the same. Market price is satisfactory. It is certain enough. Okay, so that's what I want you to need to understand for certainty. All the terms in a contract must be clear unless it is an output contract or a requirement contract. I won't ask you about market price on the final exam. That's a little bit tricky, right? It's a requirements contract, and market price is an exact number, right? Market price at the local fish market is an exact number. We'll determine it later. And that finishes contracts 1, part 2. Okay, the next part of contracts, both parts are much shorter. You know, we've now gone through offer, acceptance, consideration, intention, and certainty. So we've gone through the things that we needed to know. That's all the things that make a contract like a valid contract. So let's keep going. We're missing so many people today. Is Isaac, are you here? I don't like the no camera thing. Carlotta, Caitlin, and Isaac, if you can't turn on your camera, you got to at least tell me why. I don't accept cameras off for no reason.
I've realized recently, because I'm not connecting to a lot of classes, that if I keep my camera off, I at least have stable connection to join.
No problem then. Bandwidth, I understand.
Yeah, sorry.
That's okay. I just want explanations. I don't like no explanations, and especially in law class, I don't accept them. And Isaac, tell me if you're here.
Yeah, I'm here. I was gonna say that my connection dropped right at the beginning. I don't know if you noticed.
Okay, as long as you're here, then I'll call on you just like I call on everybody else.
Yeah, no problem.
Oh, Isaac, we should probably talk during the break.
Okay.
And Carlotta, if you ever come back, we can be friends again. Okay, let me just share my screen, that's easier. Okay, let's go on to contracts 2. So we've already talked about the things that create a contract. And now we're talking about some of the other elements of contracts in contracts 2. And then in contracts 3, which is also very short, we're going to talk about remedies, which is what happens if you break a contract. How do you sue someone? How do they sue you? And what damages can you get? But first, we have to talk about a few other things, like what happens if you make a mistake on a contract? You know, what happens if you make a mistake? What happens if you lie? What happens if you force someone to make a contract? What happens if you push someone to make a contract? What happens if your contract is unreasonable? You know, we need some of these. But first is capacity, and capacity is super easy. So we're going to fly through it. By the way, I have here the contract law of China. I have 3 different websites you can get it from. NPC is the National People's Congress, or english.gov.cn is a great place to get any of the Chinese translated laws. Always you want to be able to find the law. Okay, so what does capacity mean? You know, to make a good contract, we know you need offer, acceptance, consideration, intention, and certainty. You need these things. And we know also the contract can't be void. You know, it can't be like illegal. But in order to make a contract, there's a couple of other things that are kind of obvious. You need to be over the legal age. You need to be an adult. You need to be sane. You can't be crazy. And as we said, you can't be too drunk or high. So we already learned this one. What does adult mean? Harry, what does adult mean?
I guess over 18. Is that an adult?
In the UK.
Yeah, it's different in each country then.
And in America also. So in America and the UK, it's 18. Anybody know what is the age in China? So in China, they separate them. The legal age to make a contract in China is 18. The legal age to consent is 14. So China has an extraordinarily young age of consent. Okay, consent, we're talking about a physical relationship with another person. The youngest in the world is Korea. South Korea is 13. These are traditional countries. You know, at some point they'll change it. Look, America, when I went to law school, there were 2 states in America that were still 14, and they've now raised them to 16. But not every place in the world is 18. However, most places in the world, the legal age to make a contract is 18. So that's what I'm going to consider it as in this class. Anybody under 18 can't make a valid contract. So my cousin Brendan, 5 years old. I write a contract saying I'll give him 3 candies if he promises to sell me his first new car when he grows up for $3. He signs the contract. Do we have a valid contract? No, it's just a child. Okay, it's not valid. Now, what happens if a child, let's say, Nicola, you have a restaurant, and a child comes into your restaurant and he's clearly very, very hungry. And he says, can I have, you know, a hamburger? And you say, sure, and you cook him a hamburger, and then the bill comes, and he can't pay, he's just a child. Does he owe you the money?
Yes.
But he doesn't have any money. He's 13 years old.
Yeah, but if when you goes to a restaurant and yeah, you order the food, you must pay. You know that you have to pay.
So who has
You
to
know?
pay for him?
The father, I don't know, the legal
parents.
responsible, something like that.
The parents or whoever's legally responsible. Because, and it seems sometimes like that's not fair, but if we didn't have that rule, anybody under 18 could go to any restaurant and just order food and then say, oh, I'm sorry, I'm under 18, I'm not gonna pay for it. We can't allow that. I mean, look, it's one thing to say a 12-year-old or a 10-year-old who's starving. It's another thing to say a 16 or 17-year-old. They know what they're doing. And we cannot let them take advantage of the law like that. To enter into contracts and then say, haha, I'm 17, I got it for free. No, now your parents owe us the money. Somebody owes, right? My friend Nick is crazy. He thinks he's George Washington. And I visit him in the hospital. I tell him I'll give him a bag of cherries if he gives me all the money in his bank account. Is it valid? No. Now, here's something we're not going to get deep into in this class. What is crazy? Now, there's a word in English, a law word, not a medicine word, a law word, and the word is insane. We don't use the word crazy in the law, we use the word insane. That is not a medical word. There's no such thing as being insane. That's totally law. Now, we have a number of different tests for insanity. Generally, the most used test is called the M'Naughton test, M''N, M'Naughton. And the M'Naughton test says, do you know the difference between right and wrong? It's a right-wrong test. And if you don't know the difference between right and wrong, you are insane. Now, you could be insane for other reasons. In the law, if you don't sleep for more than 72 hours, that's 3 days, it's possible you may be considered insane. So there are other reasons you could be considered. If you did drugs, it's possible you could be considered insane temporarily. There are court cases where women have argued that if they have their period, they are temporarily insane, and the court has said, yes, that is true. So it is possible to be insane by virtue of being a woman at that time of the month. Not like you could go out and kill somebody, but it's been used in court cases. So this idea of insanity is an interesting idea. Probably one of the most famous cases in modern times is, Do you guys know the scandal about an American company called Enron? If you remember this was around 2008. And the boss of Enron, he stole all of the pensions, all of the retirement money from all of his employees and bought a golden bathroom and went on vacations, and he just used all the money. Now, people sometimes know about that company because it was really famous. They made movies about it. Jim Carrey made a movie called Fun with Dick and Jane, which was all about it. But there was another company called Health South, and the boss there did the same thing. But what he did was a little bit genius. Terrible, but genius. What he did is, for months, while he was stealing the employees' money, he would go to his family sometimes and just pretend. He would say, like, what day is it? Who are you? You're my daughter? I have a daughter? Where am I? And he would do that for months and months and months, almost a year. And they believed that he was losing his mind. You know, he's going senile. Then when they found out he's stolen all the money, the rule in America is you cannot send an insane person to prison. It's considered cruel and unusual punishment. And the Constitution forbids cruel and unusual punishment. So you can't send an insane person to prison. They must go to an insane hospital, which is much more relaxed. So he was considered to be insane. They sent him to a hospital, and then suddenly he got better because he was lying for almost a whole year, making it seem like he was insane. Now, why can't they just sue him again? Someone tell me. Does anybody know the answer to this question? Why can't they just sue him again? And this rule is true in almost all countries. There's a rule.
You can't sue twice
Sure.
for the same crime.
Yes. Tiffany, is that what you were going to say?
I was going to say statute of limitation.
It's not statute of limitations, that's time. It wasn't about time. It was about something called double indemnity. Double indemnity says no person can be tried twice for the same crime. Why? Let's say that, and I'll make a little bit of a sad example. Isaac was driving and he hit my daughter with his car and killed her. Imagine that. I sue Isaac for criminal negligence or for vehicular manslaughter or maybe even for homicide or murder, or, you know, there's a variety of things. But I sue him for killing my daughter and he wins. It was an accident. Well, if I could sue him again, don't you think I would? How many times do you think I'd sue him? I'd sue him until I die. I'd sue him forever for the rest of my life to make his life terrible because he took my daughter. I'd sue him over and over and over and over again. And that's what people would do. Now, sometimes it's not so dark as that. Sometimes it's just like a rich person or, you know, suing again and again and again and again because they have the money. They could just sue you 100 times. We can't let that kind of thing happen. So we have a rule that if you're sued once and you win, you can appeal, right? You can always appeal. What does appeal mean, Tiffany?
I'm guessing there's some other reason for a lawsuit.
Okay, you should know. You should not have to guess what appeal means. Somebody tell me what appeal means. We learned it in our first class, our first 2 classes.
It is when you go to higher courts.
Yes, it is when you go to higher court. Right? So how many levels of court are there?
3.
3. There's trial court where you start, court of appeals, and then Supreme Court. And if you go all the way up to Supreme Court and they say you're innocent, you're innocent. Nobody can ever sue you for that crime again. And we already talked about intoxication, so we're fine there. Also, we know illegal contracts are void, right? They're not real. I'll send you 10 handguns and a bag of drugs for $400. It's not a real contract, right? It's illegal. What about this though, Crystal? I can't get a driver's license because I keep failing the driving test. And my friend says he can get me a driver's license for $450 because he knows someone in the department. I agree, we signed a contract and I never got my driver's license. And so I say he has to give me back the money and he says no. Do we have a contract?
No.
Why not?
Because your friend doesn't have the license.
Well, then he should give me the money back.
Because the contract is invalid then.
Why?
I think it's legally wrong to not have a proper license.
It's not about it's illegal not to have a proper license. What's illegal here? Anyone, what's illegal here?
You cannot pay for a driver license. You have to do
you
the
can't.
test. I don't know.
Exactly. You can't buy a license. Crystal, do you want to live in a society where rich people can just buy driver's licenses for their kids?
No.
No, you do not. You want to live in a society where people know how to drive cars and they take a test. What about this though, Crystal? So this was Sinnar v. Leroy. It was actually a license to sell alcohol. And it's the same idea. We don't want people to buy these, to buy a license. What about this? So Crystal, I lend you 100,000 RMB to start a restaurant. You borrow it from me and we say 5% interest. Okay, so next year you're gonna give me back, or whenever, you're gonna give me back 105,000. But in the contract we sign, it says no interest, because then we don't have to pay taxes on that $5,000. So I'm going to get 105,000 back from you, but I don't want to pay taxes on that. So we just write 100,000 in the contract, and your restaurant fails, and you don't want to pay me back. And I say, Crystal, you have to pay me back. So I take you to court. Do you have to pay me back?
No, because you are not supposed to escape the taxes.
Yep. But what about the $100,000, 100,000 RMB I gave you?
I just pay you back with the 5% interest.
Do you have to pay me back?
If the contract not valid, then I don't have to. But...
So you keep all of the money. This is not different than I make a contract, Crystal, to buy 10 bags of drugs and 10 guns from you, and I give you 100,000 RMB. That money is yours. You don't have to give me the guns. It's a totally illegal contract. Now, was this as bad as that? No, it wasn't. But, and this is Homami versus Iranzadi, this was a case of illegal consideration, right? The consideration, what are we giving each other? I'm giving you money, right? So plaintiff and defendant were brothers. Plaintiff lent defendant money. So what is the plaintiff giving to the defendant? Money. Is that valuable? Sure. What's the defendant giving to the plaintiff? What's the defendant giving to the plaintiff? In my example, Crystal, where I lend you the money, I'm giving you the money. What are you giving me?
So you cannot pay the taxes? Like you have the condition to not pay the taxes?
Well, in this example, I lend you 100,000 RMB to start a restaurant. I'm giving you 100,000 RMB, right? Definitely that's valuable. What are you giving me?
You don't have to pay interest.
You're giving me 5% interest, right? So you're going to give me $5,000 without taxes. You're not just giving me $5,000. You're giving me $5,000 without tax. That's illegal. So you're giving me something illegal. And that's it. You can't make a contract for something illegal. It doesn't matter if it's big or small. You can't make a contract for something illegal. However, yeah.
So in that case, whole contract is void,
Yes.
and then you cannot enforce her to pay you all the money, not only the interest.
Yep. All of the money. The court will not touch an illegal contract. They won't discuss it. They won't touch it. However, Nicola, I'm a licensed lawyer. I am. But some years when I lived in China, I didn't pay the $400 fee. Now, I did that on purpose. It means I'm retired. Now that I'm back in America, I paid the $400. Now I'm a lawyer in good standing. I was always a lawyer, but you have to pay every year, and I was in China and there was no need to. This just gives me the right to do law in New York City, or New York State. I was in China, there was no point, but I was still a lawyer. So I didn't pay the fee. Now imagine that I'm in China and I do some legal work for you, Nicola. And when everything is done, you're very happy with the work. I've written contracts, I've written letters, you're very happy with the work, and you owe me 10,000 RMB and you refuse to pay me. And you tell me the contract is illegal because I don't have a license. And that's true. Is the contract illegal?
So in that case, it would be illegal just because you don't pay the fee. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, that is the case. I have a legal license, but I didn't pay the fee, so it's illegal. Is that fair?
No, definitely not.
Why?
But because you have all the skills, you are doing a good job. So I don't know, I'm kind of taking advantage of it, of your work.
And that's exactly right. And what the court said in this case, it wasn't a lawyer, it was a licensed architect. And he didn't pay the fee, and he did some work, and then the defendant said, I'm not going to pay you. Right? Defendant refused to pay and said, look, the contract's illegal. And what plaintiff said is, look, I went to school for this. I know how to do this. If I never went to school to be an architect and I designed your house, that would be unethical. Designing a house, you really need to know what you're doing, or it could fall down and people could die. It is absolutely illegal to design a house without a license. But he said, I have a license. If I did pay the $400 or I didn't pay, that doesn't change my abilities. And the court agreed. And the court said it's possible to get the fair value of anything that's been transferred by contract. And in Latin, this is called, this won't be easy to write. Oh no, that's so bad. It's in quantum meruit. In quantum, that's okay, you can read that. M-U. I think I'm spelling it right. In quantum meruit. And that means quantum is amount and meruit is like merit, same root in Latin. So ethics, morals, you know, there's an amount of morals. I went to school to be a lawyer. I know how to do this work and I did it for you. There's nothing unethical about this contract. It's not illegal. The contract's not illegal. Technically, there is something illegal that I shouldn't have done the work because I'm not licensed, but that's not a big deal. It's nothing unethical. Okay, that's what I'm going to say about having the ability to make a contract. So you have to be an adult, over 18. You can't be too intoxicated, drunk or high. You can't be crazy. You have to be sane. And it has to be legal. Those are the 4 things we need in addition to offer, acceptance, consideration, intention, and certainty. Now, what happens if you make a mistake? Okay, is there still a contract if somebody makes a mistake? If the mistake is just about a number, like I'm going to sell books to Tiffany for $10,000, but on the contract I make a mistake on the computer and I write 100,000 instead of 10. And Tiffany's like, yes, now I get $100,000 instead of 10. Do we have a contract, Tiffany, for $100,000?
No, because that wasn't agreed on.
Yeah, it was just what we'd call a clerical error. It's just a simple mistake. That doesn't matter. However, that's not really what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about a different kind of mistake. So I buy and sell guitars, and you also buy and sell guitars. Let's see, who is? Isaac. Isaac, you also buy and sell guitars, and you sell me a very nice guitar for $5,000. And actually, it was a fake. But it was a very good fake. Both you and I thought it was real, and we're both professionals. We made a mistake. So I want to return the guitar to you since it's fake. And you say, hey, listen, David, we both thought it was real. Isaac, do we have a contract?
Yes.
Why?
Because at the time when you bought the guitar, you thought it was real, and so did I.
That's true.
We both had no knowledge that it was a fake.
But what was this a contract for?
For a very nice Gibson Les Paul guitar.
And is this a Gibson Les Paul guitar?
Well, I guess not.
No, it is not. It is a copy. Did I make a contract with you to buy a copy?
No.
No, I did not. I made a mistake and you made a mistake. But the contract was not for that. And so the contract is voidable. If Isaac, if I like the guitar, can I keep it?
Sure.
Sure, absolutely. But if I don't want the guitar, I could say, hey man, I made a contract with you to buy a Gibson Les Paul. Why would this matter? Because some things go up in value over time. Copies don't. So maybe I was buying it because it was an investment. And even though we were both wrong and it was a very good copy, I don't want a very good copy. I want the real thing. And that's your fault too. You chose to make a contract. What could you have said? Here's a hard question. What could you have said in the contract? 2 words that would have made this a contract that I could not take back. We did learn this. Anybody? What could he have written in this contract that would have made it binding?
We offer an acceptance.
As it is?
Yep. As is. Junpyo, what does as is mean?
It means the condition that you're getting it right now.
Yeah, exactly. Whatever you're buying it as it is right now. So if he sold me this guitar as is, well, then I've accepted that whatever this is, I bought it. So as is a pretty important thing to be able to put into contracts. Now, this was an example of a mutual mistake, right? He was wrong and I was wrong. What if only one of us is wrong, though? My wife, Zhangzi, and I decide to buy a house. It's an old house out in Lianyungang, but it's very pretty. So we buy the house as is because we expect that we'll have to fix it. After we sign the contract, we bring in some workers and there's a big electrical problem and nobody can live in this house. Nobody knew about this problem, including the old owner. Is there a contract, Junpyo?
I don't think so.
Why not?
Because the only one party knew the truth, and it's quite...
It says no one knew about the problem, including the old owner.
Oh, wait, sorry.
He didn't know, and we didn't know.
So then it's a mutual mistake.
It is a mutual mistake. And what does a mutual mistake make it?
Avoidable.
Wrong. Usually, a mutual mistake makes it voidable unless
Okay.
do we have a contract?
Yes.
Yes. Does it suck to be us that we just bought a house we can't live in? Yes, it does. It absolutely sucks. But we bought it as is. So in Lenawee versus Messerly, Carl and Nancy Pickles bought an apartment building, a whole building. And the contract said they would take it as is. Then they discovered that the apartment was condemned, which means the government says nobody can live there because there was a faulty sewage tank. And the court said, sorry, you didn't check first and you bought it as is. Never buy something as is, unless you're absolutely sure you want it the way it is right now. As is something you'd put in a contract when you're selling things, because then you're selling it as it is right now. And they cannot say the contract is voidable, or I thought it was different, or I didn't realize it was a mistake, right? This is still a mutual mistake, right? If one person is wrong, like, let's say I sell something to Carlotta. Carlotta, you there? Carlotta. No. Okay. Caitlin.
Yeah.
Okay. Caitlin, I will sell you my iPhone X for 3,000 RMB. And you say, okay. And actually, I was wrong. So you give me the money, I give you the iPhone X, and then we find out that it was a copy. It was a fake. Do we still have a contract?
Yes.
Why?
Because like, well, the iPhone's a fake, so actually, it's not a mutual mistake.
Well, see, that's the key question. If it's a mutual mistake, and that means you didn't know and I didn't know, then what happens?
Then the contract is voidable?
Yes. So of course, you made a contract to buy an iPhone X. Is this an iPhone X? No, it's not.
Mm-hmm.
You made a contract to buy an iPhone X. This isn't an iPhone X, so it's voidable. If you want to keep it, you can, but you don't have to, unless we wrote as is, but we didn't. I didn't write that. So you don't have to keep it. However, how do you prove that I did know? What if I say, oh, I didn't know? How do you prove I did know?
By maybe finding if like you've sold fake iPhone 10s to other people?
Maybe that would be a way. If I knew, did I make a mistake then? There's another word we use in English for when somebody knows something and sells something to someone and it's not the real thing. The word I think would be lie. I lied to you.
Mm-hmm.
Now there's three kinds of lies in the law. In English, we would just say I lied to you. Now let's say I sold you my scooter and I said it's a Vespa scooter. And then you bring it to the store and they say, this is not a Vespa. It has a Vespa outside, but the engine is garbage and these tires are old and the brakes are really bad and man, this is a bad scooter. It's garbage. Well, in English, you would just say David lied to me. But in the law, we separate this into 3 categories, and we call this misrepresentation. I represented to you that this was a Vespa scooter or that this was an iPhone X, but it's not. So there are 2 things you can get from me if you sue me for this. You can get damages or you can get rescission. Damage, we understand, means money. Rescission is a kind of equity. We've already learned specific performance. We learned injunction. Here's another one called rescission. And rescission means take away the contract. Take away the contract like it never happened. Now, the difference between breaking a contract and rescinding a contract is the same as the difference between divorce and annulment. Does anybody know what annulment means? No? Tell me, Isaac, what is divorce?
When a married couple decides to get separated.
Well, separated is a different thing. You can get separated. You don't have to get divorced.
I mean, legally separated.
There's a thing called legally separated. That's a thing. You guys don't know any divorce law. I mean, why would you? But if you are married and you want to separate, first you could do it just informally. Let's say you're having a fight and you just live in separate places for a little while to cool off. Now let's say you want to get divorced. Divorce means to break the marriage contract. That's what divorce means. But you can't just get divorced in most places. Why not? Tiffany, why can't you just get divorced in most places? I think I lost Tiffany. Harry, oh no, Tiffany, you there?
Hi, I got cut off.
Okay. Ironic, since that's very similar to divorce. Why can't you just get divorced in most places? Why can't 2 people just get divorced like that today?
There has to be a reason,
Why?
maybe?
The reason is I don't want to be married anymore.
Because it's 2 sides. Both have to agree.
Okay, me and my wife both agree. We don't want to be married anymore.
Oh gosh, I don't know.
We can't get divorced today. In fact, in China, for example, it will take us 2 years, even if we both agree to get divorced today. And that's not a crazy amount of time. In America, it's 1 year. Not every place, different states have different times. But, you know, it can be as long as a year or more. In fact, in both New York and Shanghai, if you want to get divorced, you are required by law to see a marriage counselor before you're allowed to get divorced. Even if my wife and I both want to get divorced, we can't. We have to see a marriage counselor. Why? Anybody have an idea? Why would the court care?
Or else it doesn't mean anything. There's no value. There's no.
We said before, contracts have sanctity. The court believes contracts they're holy. They have value. It wasn't just a promise between you 2. It was a promise between you 2 and God, according to the law. And while the law is not religious anymore, there's still this idea that marriage needs to mean something. And you shouldn't enter into it lightly. So if you want to get legally divorced, you must get legally separated first. And you live in separate places, and you cannot physically sleep with each other anymore. If you physically sleep with each other, your 2 years starts again. Annulment is different. Let's say that I get married. I'm so excited. I finally get married. And then I discover, and I didn't know this, she's actually my sister. I never met my father. I had no idea. I just met this girl and we fell in love and we got married, and then we're talking about our family and she shows me photos and I'm like, oh no. And I discover she's my sister. Do we need to get divorced?
In New Jersey, you don't have to,
Why not?
because in New Jersey and Rhode Island, cousins and siblings and even close family members, as long as they consent, they may have
What?
these,
Are you looking this up online? Because I don't believe that's true.
Okay.
Wait, are you guessing? Cousins, first cousins, yes. Sisters and brothers? I don't think so. No, I don't have to get a divorce from my sister because we were never married. There's no divorce. The contract was illegal. So we don't get a divorce, we get an annulment, which means it never happened. Because it wasn't possible. It's not possible in the law for that to happen. Let's say I find a girl and we get married and then I discover she was lying to me and she's actually 16. She told me she was 20, she's actually 16. Harry, did we get married?
No.
No, it's not possible. She didn't have the ability to agree to a contract. So we'd get an annulment, which says this whole thing never happened. Now that's a long, long explanation to explain in contracts we have the same word called rescission. It's not for marriage, it's for anything, any contract, to say the contract never happened. And this is what happens if you lie to someone. So I said, there are three kinds of lies. Where am I on time? About an hour and a half. Let's go through this slide and then take a break. So there are three kinds of lies. First of all, there is a lie on purpose. So I knew this wasn't a Vespa scooter. And I said, yeah, it's a Vespa. Oh my God, it's such a good deal. Yeah, I just don't need it anymore. I am lying to you. That's a lie. But it's not always like that. What if it's negligent, which means careless? So what if I recently got this scooter from Junpyo and Junpyo said, yeah, David, it's a Vespa. It's really good condition. And then I turn around and I put an advertisement on the internet. And Tiffany, you want to buy it. And you say, is it really a Vespa? And I say, oh yeah, definitely. You say, is it in good condition? Now, before I sell this, Tiffany, as an ethical person, do you think I should go to a garage and have it checked?
I guess so, because that's the
Well, I mean, I'm not a mechanic.
safety issues.
How would I know if the brakes are good quality? How would I know if the wheels or the oil? I mean, I don't know this stuff. If you're going to sell something that could hurt people, you kind of have a responsibility just to make sure it's okay. Right? So that would be, now, if I said, yeah, Tiffany, totally, it's a Vespa, it's in good condition, I think. And then you use it, there's no brakes, and you crash and you get injured. Did I lie to you?
Yes.
Yeah. I told you something that's not true. Did I do it on purpose to hurt you?
No.
No.
There's no
No, I
intention.
didn't. There was no intention there. I didn't try to hurt you, but I still told you something that's not true. Now, in English, that would still be, it's a hard thing. In English, we only have the word lie. And it's not really the same as a lie. What about innocent? What if I buy this scooter and I look on the internet to make sure it's a real Vespa and I do my best to check it out and I am sure it's a Vespa. And then I sell it to you, Tiffany, and it turns out it's not a Vespa. I really thought it was. I did as much homework as I could and I really thought it was, and it's not, and you bought it. Did I lie to you? I told you it was a Vespa.
Yes, it's a lie.
But it was an innocent lie. I didn't try to hurt you. I really thought it was true. Does it matter?
Yeah, it does. But not a lie now.
Why? It's still a lie. Did I tell you something that's not true?
Yeah, but that's beside the fact
No, it's
of
not.
the.
It's
Oh,
not.
that's not. Oh,
It is
okay.
misrepresentation. These are three different ways to tell somebody something that's not true. You can tell somebody something that's not true on purpose, or you can do it carelessly, or you can honestly believe it's true. It doesn't matter. These are three different ways to tell somebody a lie. It's just that's not really the word we use in English. In English, lie has a feeling of doing it on purpose. And so in the law, we don't use the word lie, we use the word misrepresentation. And really only number one is what we would call a lie. But number 2 and 3 are still misrepresentation. Okay, let's take a break here for 10 minutes, and then we'll come back and continue. Isaac, stay on for a second though, I'd like to talk to you. Isaac, are you there? Isaac. Isaac? Isaac, where are you? Okay, we're recording again. Hey, by the way, when I press record, does have a computer robot voice say we're in this video is being recorded?
Not for me.
No. When I take class and my professors record the video, there's some computer voice that says this video is being recorded.
I think sometimes I get it when I join, like it gives me a warning,
Oh, okay.
but not halfway through. Yeah.
Interesting. Well, just because I paused it and restarted it. But okay, let us continue. Any questions so far on what we're doing?
I didn't understand the difference between output contract and requirement contract.
Okay, let's talk about that for a second then. So output versus requirement contracts. Anybody help us? Who can explain? Crystal, can you help us? Let's talk about output first. What's an output contract?
Output is like the buyer agree to buy all the the entire output to get the distributor right. The only condition is that the seller cannot sell to other company. Like you are the sole distributor in this case.
So let's say this again. An output contract, tell me again what it is.
It's like the buyer agree to buy the entire output, like all the productions, to just get the exclusive distribution right.
Okay.
Okay, then requirements contract is more on the seller. Like the seller agree to supply all the quantity that required by the buyers. And the only condition is that the buyer cannot buy the goods or services from other place. So this one is more sole provider, and then the output one is sole distributor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Crystal.
Welcome.
Does that make any more sense, Nicola?
Yes, definitely, definitely.
Can you give me an example?
So basically, the output contract is the buyer must buy the whole thing that the seller is selling, and
Can you give me
not
an
buying
example?
from anyone else. Like, I will buy all of your corn. You product corn, for example. So I will buy all of your corn, and I'm not buying from anyone else, just your production, but it will be all the production. And the requirement contract is the other way around. The seller will sell everything.
Now, why would you do this? Why would you buy all the corn that David's farm produces?
Because your corn is the best one. I mean, I don't need to find another supplier. You're the best, so I want to guarantee that I will have the best one. I mean, in my opinion.
Good. You think my corn is the best. You want to be the only person who sells my corn. So no matter how much I produce, you're going to buy it. Where for a requirement contract, what happens?
So you will sell the whole production for just one seller. So,
Well, not the
or
whole
just one
production.
buyer.
Not necessarily the whole production.
Okay.
I'm going to sell you all the corn that you need. So let's say, what do you do that needs corn? Let's say you make cornbread. Okay, you're a restaurant and you make cornbread, and you're very famous all around the country for having the best cornbread, and you believe my corn is the best corn. Now I produce a lot of corn, and you're going to buy all of it. That would be an output contract. No matter how much I produce, you're going to buy it. But what if I produce 100,000 tons of corn? You don't need all of that corn. You want to make sure that your restaurants get David's corn. So we make an agreement that all of your corn comes from me. I'm going to sell you all the corn that you need. Let's see. In recent months, Nicola needs between 100 to 200 kg of corn per month. Okay?
Okay.
So whatever you need, I'm going to sell you. However, David produces 10,000 kg of corn per month. Am I selling it all to you, Nicola?
No, no.
No. Are you the only person who gets my corn?
No.
No. My corn gets sold all over to lots of different people. However, all the corn that you need comes from me. Why would I do this?
Because you have how can I say? You don't need to go to the market and find someone to buy your corn. You already have part of your production.
Correct.
Already done, already sell it, so it's good for you.
So I'm going to agree to this because I'll be the sole provider. Now, maybe it's good for me. Let's say you have a 5-star restaurant and on your menu it says cornbread with corn from David's farm. That could be great for me. So there might be an advertising reason for me too, but I know that no matter what, I'm selling the corn to you, at least. So that's the
How
difference.
much I need. Okay,
Anybody else have
thank you.
questions? Nope. Okay. Let us go back to our PowerPoint. Okay. So we're talking about different kinds of misrepresentations. And we said if you lie on purpose to someone, then that's really a lie. However, if you lie to someone carelessly or honestly, what you get is a rescission usually. You don't generally get damages unless it is a lie on purpose. So if I lied to you and said, I'm selling you this Vespa scooter, but I know it's fake, well, then you could sue me for damages, money, because the court doesn't want people lying. What if I'm careless? Well, we don't want people to be careless either. So you could probably sue me for damages. So you can get damages for a lie on purpose. You can get damages for a careless lie, but there's no damage for an innocent lie. Because I believed it was true. So you can get damages for the first two. And by damages, again, we mean money. Let's look at an example. My grandmother is a terrible dancer. She goes to a dance school and they tell her, you're a wonderful dancer with natural talent, and you should take classes to improve your skill. She's so happy that she signs up for $30,000 worth of classes. Later, she realizes they were just lying to her and she sues them. And they say, but we weren't lying. We really believe that you're a good dancer. Caitlin, were they lying to her? Can she sue them for misrepresentation? Caitlin? No. Where are you? Isaac, can she sue them?
Yeah, I'm here. Can the grandmother? Could you please repeat the question?
Did they lie to her?
I mean, yes.
So can she sue them?
Well, no.
Why not?
Because, well, how did I lie to them? They said she was a wonderful dancer with natural talent.
What are they going to say if she tries to sue them? Junpyo, imagine that you're the dance school. What are you going to say to Isaac's grandmother?
I think that we didn't lie because like the skills for dancing, it might be subjective.
Yeah,
So,
it's subjective, right? You thought she was good. Who is anybody to say that your opinion was wrong? Lots of people like different kinds of dance. Isaac, do you believe Junpyo's reasoning?
Oh, yeah. Sure.
You do?
Yeah.
You think your grandmother should have signed up for $30,000 worth of Junpyo's classes? You think that was good?
Well, no, I I agree with his statement that it's subjective. I could say I thought she was a great. I mean, they could say she thought she was a great dancer.
Yeah, but Isaac, Junpyo is a professional.
Well, maybe he would say for her age, she's a great dancer.
She's not. She's
So it is
a
a lie.
terrible dancer.
So it is a lie, and she can't sue the.
If someone offers to tell the truth, they must be honest. He offered to tell her the truth and he was not honest. This is a lie. Does it matter that Junpyo said it's his opinion? No. It doesn't matter because Junpyo, you're a professional and that was not your real opinion. You cannot lie to people. This is fraud.
So basically, Junpyo could not say, "Oh yeah, but I thought, or I was being honest." I mean, it was like an innocent misrepresentation.
That's what
He
they said in
cannot.
court. Arthur Murray is a dance school company, and that's what they said in court. They said, hey, it's just our opinion. And the judge said, you know, imagine that you're a piano teacher and you went to university, you studied piano, you're an expert piano player, you've been a teacher for 10 years, and somebody comes to you with their child, and the child can barely play piano, not very good, and you say, oh my God, he's a genius. I see the talent in him. You should sign up for $30,000 worth of lessons. That's, I mean, if you want to say, look, I think anybody could learn to play the piano. And, you know, if you sign up for, you know, 10 lessons, we can then see how he likes it and see if he gets good at it. But $30,000, you know, anybody would say, look, if you're a professional, you know what's good and what's bad.
I see.
Yeah, you know, you offered to tell the truth. And when you offer to tell the truth, you must be reasonably honest. And you were not reasonably honest.
Then I have a question, sir.
Yeah.
So is it okay to say that your grandmother's dancing is not bad, even though she's terrible? Is it lying?
If this involves money, then yes. If this is just being nice to someone after a class and saying, hey, you know, look, everybody can improve. It's not that bad. You know, you can definitely get better. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you're trying to say that to get her to sign a contract, well, then that's a lie.
Oh, okay.
There's nothing wrong with saying, are you having a good time? Because if you're having a good time, then you should keep coming to our school. You'll definitely get better, but you're not going to become a world-class dancer. And they were dishonest. I rent a house from you. On purpose, I write down the wrong address on the contract. I add language saying I don't need to pay the first 6 months rent, and then I trick you into signing it by telling you I didn't change anything. So I move into the house and then I refuse to pay. You sue me. Do we have a valid contract? Does this look valid to you, Harry?
No, this seems fraudulent.
Yes, correct. This is fraud, right? This is a good example of fraud. That is lying to someone on purpose, right? Lying to someone with knowledge that what you're saying is false. And for that, the court will punish. So in this case, they gave $20,000 just to punish the person who did this because it's, you know, it's just a lie on purpose. What if it's not so clear? Let's say that I always buy a newspaper advertisement from the same company and their employees wear a special uniform. It's red with a white logo. And one day I'm waiting for the representative to come over and you come to my office. Who's you? Tiffany, you come to my office. You're wearing a uniform that's very similar to the newspaper company, but actually you work for a different company that just copied their uniform. I don't realize the difference and I buy an advertisement from you. And when I realize I want the money back and you say no, did you lie to me? You never said you were from that first company. You were just wearing a uniform very similar to theirs. Is that a lie?
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is. Right? There's no contract because this is fraud. You misled me into believing something. You misled me. It doesn't matter that you didn't say anything. In this case, what the person said is, I'm from the Yellow Pages. They don't even make Yellow Pages anymore. You know, maybe you guys are even too young to remember Yellow Pages. But Yellow Pages, yeah?
I have a question. Why does that have to do with the contract?
So you had this person called the Kinimaka Enterprise, this company. Okay, and for years, they had put an advertisement in this company, GTE's Yellow Pages. So Tiffany, do you know what Yellow Pages are?
Yes, it's phone book.
Yeah, it's a phone book, right. So for years, Kinimaka had always put their advertisement in GTE's Yellow Pages. And so the company representative was waiting for GTE to come and make a contract with her for this year. And then another person came from a different company, and he just said, I'm from the Yellow Pages. That's all he said. He was wearing the same uniform, and he didn't leave a business card. He just said, I'm from the Yellow Pages. And the owner of Kinimaka company thought, well, okay, this must be the same guy the same company I use every year. So the owner paid him. Does the story make sense?
Yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure the story makes sense.
Why does the uniform has?
Okay, so now let's get into this question about the uniform. Let's say that you are the owner of this company. You're the owner of Kinimaka. And every year you advertise in the phone book. And every year Nicola, he runs that phone book and he sends a representative and they come with a red uniform with a white, it says their name, and you know, every year it's the same. And this year I come and I say, hey, Tiffany, I'm from the Yellow Pages. We just want to make sure you're going to advertise with us. Please sign here. You say, okay, cool. You sign here, and I leave. But I was not from Nicola's company. I opened my own company and I copied his clothes. Did I trick you? Did I trick you, Tiffany?
Yes.
How did I trick you?
I guess there's some power in the representation of the uniform.
Well, why did you sign this paper, this contract that I showed you?
Because of the uniform.
Well, what did you believe?
I believe it was the same uniform.
You believed I was from Nicola's company, right?
Right.
Why'd you believe that? I'm not from Nicola's company. Why'd you believe I'm from Nicola's company?
Because of the prior knowledge of the contracts that were signed in prior years.
Yeah, but why'd you sign the contract with me?
Because
what
of
made
the uniform?
The uniform made you believe that I was from his company. You're used to seeing that uniform. Let's say you go into a restaurant and it says KFC, and you go in and you order some chicken, and it turns out it's not Kentucky Fried Chicken. It's Kentucky Fresh Chicken. But they just have KFC in the front, and you eat the chicken and you get sick. Did they lie to you to make you think it was Kentucky Fried Chicken?
Yes.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah.
They explicitly tell you they're Kentucky Fried Chicken or not? Or did
No.
you just...
It says KFC, and their menu is exactly the same as Kentucky Fried Chicken.
But isn't that just the person assuming they're KFC?
If you go into McDonald's, do you need to check if it's a real McDonald's or a fake McDonald's?
No.
Why would you think to check? Nobody checks. You just assume it's real because it
That's what-
looks real. Tiffany, does this make sense? If I make a business and I
Yeah.
copy, I mean, this is like the fake Apple store in China. Are they lying? Of course they are. They made a fake Apple store. But for people who don't know, you never, before there was a fake Apple store, nobody had ever heard of that. It was a crazy idea to make a fake Apple store. Nobody thought to go in. I mean, who goes to an Apple store and says, is this a fake Apple store? Who says that? Nobody says that. It's not a thing until they made one in China. And they had a whole Apple store that was fake. And that's exactly what the person tried to do here. He tried to make a company to trick people and think they were from this more prestigious company. And you can't do that. That's fraud. That's a lie. It doesn't matter that he never said anything. And it doesn't matter that the fake McDonald's never said we're a fake McDonald's, or they never lied and said we're the real McDonald's. They copied the M, they copied the menu, they copied it all. And that's fraud.
So at what point does like the plaintiff become negligent? Like, for example, if I went into like an Apple store and I saw like a Samsung phone, so I knew it was a Samsung phone, but I still bought it anyway.
That's still, I mean, the standard for proving fraud with respect to a written contract is quite high. So if they said it's an Apple store, they have committed fraud because they are lying.
Okay.
If they just said cell phone, let's say you go and it looks like an Apple store, like it's all glass and it has a Genius bar, and on the front it just says cell phone store. And there's a picture of an orange. And you go in and you buy a Samsung phone and you say, I thought it was an Apple store. Okay, that's your fault.
Right, yeah.
Were they lying? Kind of. Were they copying Apple? Kind of. You know, but not 100%. Apple could probably sue them for that to get them to stop. You know, that's like when in China, when you see fake brands, like Oleo cookies instead of Oreo, or Adidas instead of Adidas. Okay, so remedies. You can get money if somebody lies to you. As I said, if they lie to you on purpose or negligently, or you can get rescission, which the court will take away the contract or the part of the contract that is a lie. Now, let's say that I go to, I'll go to Junpyo. Junpyo, I'll go to your house or I go to your business and I say, Junpyo, I'd like to sell you my computers. Okay, I have a computer company. And if you don't buy them, I'll kill your family. And you sign the contract. Do we have a good contract?
I don't think so, because like we were in not a same position.
I'm not in a what position?
Same position, because like you were threatening me.
I'm threatening you. That is true. I'm threatening you. I said I would kill you. What if I said to you, Junpyo, if you don't sign the contract with me, I will go to the government and tell them that you are making a bomb. Am I threatening you?
Yeah, still threatening me, but because it's my fault.
Wait, you're
also-
not making a bomb. You're not really making a bomb. I'm just going to go lie.
Really making a bomb. Okay.
No,
in
you're
that
not
case,
really making a bomb.
No,
I'm just saying I'm going to go lie.
Oh, I think it's still threatening.
It's still threatening. And in the law, we call this duress. Now, duress could be physical, that I actually force you. I put a gun or a knife to your neck and I say, sign this contract. And that happens. It does happen. Or it could be non-physical. I say, I'm going to lie about you. And that's, I'm not going to physically hurt you, but I'm going to kill your reputation. And both of those are duress. Duress is voidable. It's not automatically void. You know, what if I say, Junpyo, I put a knife to you. I say, you have to buy my computers or I'll kill you. You say, okay, I'll buy your computers. You sign the contract. Then I send you the computers and they're wonderful. Can you keep the computers if you like them?
I think so.
Sure. If I say, I put a knife to your throat and say, if you don't buy my wonderful product, I'll kill you. And then you buy it and it's wonderful. Great. You know, can you sue me?
I think
Is it illegal to put a knife to someone's neck?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it is.
So
But that's criminal law.
Yeah.
That's not about money, right? That's called assault and battery. So you could go to the police and call the police and say, David put a knife to my neck and I have a video camera and they're going to arrest me and put me in jail. It's illegal. But that has nothing to do with money. That's about criminal law. In terms of money, we're talking about contracts. Now that doesn't happen very often, but it does happen. So I'm a tough guy who sells drugs and you want some drugs. Who wants some drugs? Caitlin, you there? No? Caitlin, what has happened? Crystal, you there?
Yes.
Yeah, you're there, Crystal. Okay, you want some drugs. But here's the problem, Crystal. You don't have any money. So I give you the drugs and you promise to pay me, but you don't. And this makes me angry, Crystal. So I go to your house and I tell you, I need you to go to the pharmacy and buy drugs with a fake prescription, or else I'll beat you so bad your own mother won't recognize you. You go to buy the drugs, but you're caught by the police. And you say, of course, David made me do this. Now, what's going to happen there? This is a real case that Mr. Stannard bought oxycodone, that's a drug, from a dealer named Pops. But Mr. Stannard had no money, so he bought on credit. And they said, you have to go to a pharmacy and buy medicine, or else we'll beat you so bad your mother won't recognize you. He was caught. And the trial court said this is not duress because the threat is not imminent. But when it went up, the court said this is duress. So let's understand this. What does imminent mean? Anybody know this word in English?
It will be happen soon.
Immediately. Now, was this drug dealer going to hurt him immediately? And we mean this second.
Nope.
No. The drug dealer said, I'm going to beat you up in the future, but soon, very soon, like tomorrow. And so the court at first said this isn't imminent. And then it went up to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said, that's crazy. You don't need this to happen right now. And they said, here are the things you need for duress. Now, you don't need to, I'm not going to ask you right now to memorize all of these. If this was on the final, I would tell you. But what duress is first, you have a reasonable belief that you're in danger. Second, the danger actually has a threat of significant harm. Third, the threat is real and it's imminent and it's coming soon. So what if I said, Junpyo, if you don't buy my computers, I am going to use an elephant to attack your home. Is that duress?
I don't think so because it's not a reasonable belief.
Yeah, it's not real. I don't have an elephant. It's a crazy thing. So it's not real, so it's not duress. And the number 4 is that you had to do it. There's no other way of avoiding the danger. So it's about, could you avoid the danger? And finally, the harm avoided outweighed the harm caused. So this is what you need to prove that someone forced you to do something. What about this example? We're working together on a real estate project, me and my good friend, Nicola. Okay, we're working together. And Nicola, you have stock in this project, but I don't want to work with you anymore. And I tell you, Nicola, I don't think we can work together on this project. And here's what you say to me, Nicola. You say, David, you know, the city is not as safe as you may think between your office and home. You'll see what I can do against you, and you'll regret the day you decided not to work with me. And I'm like, oh my God, well, okay. You say, you know, David, you could just buy my stock in this project, and then the city will be a lot safer for you. And I'm like, geez, okay, fine. So I buy the stock. Later, the company is doing well, and you want the stock back. You say David only bought the stock because I threatened him. And I say, no, no, no. I want the stock. Is this duress? Did you threaten me?
I think, yes, I threaten you, but how can I recall my threatening? This is so
You can't.
complicated.
It is complicated, but you can't recall it. What the court said is, it doesn't matter if I would have agreed to this contract without the threat. So in this case, you said, David, you have to buy my stock. And actually, I was happy to. Like, you forced me. It's the same example where I said Junpyo has to buy my computers and then they're wonderful.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. That's still duress. So in this case, the facts were a politician threatened to have this person killed if he didn't agree to buy shares. But he wanted to buy those shares. There was no problem there. The politician was just an idiot. And he said, I'll kill you if you don't buy this. But the guy wanted to buy it anyway. And then later, the politician, who again is an idiot, said, you know, he never would have bought it if I didn't make the deal. And Barton said, yeah, I would. You didn't need to threaten me. I was going to buy it anyway. And the trial court said, well, if he was going to buy it anyway, then it's not duress. And the Supreme Court said, no, 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 this is duress. Why did it matter? Because duress is a crime also. So even though Barton was happy to have this stock, fine, but he could also send the politician to jail. Or he couldn't, but the police could. You rent an apartment, but you haven't paid the rent in a few months because you don't have the money. And the landlord calls and threatens that if you don't pay, Harry, this is you. If you don't pay, he's going to go into your apartment, take your stuff, and sell it. So let's say I'm the landlord. And Harry, you haven't paid me in like 3 months. And I say, if you don't pay, I'm going to go into your apartment and take your stuff. I have the key. And I offer you a contract, and it says you have to pay me all the rent owed with interest. Now, you don't want to pay the interest. So you decide to move. And you say, so you sign the contract, and then you move. And then you don't want to pay me, and you say the only reason you signed was because of duress. Is this duress?
I don't think so.
Why not?
Because you agreed to sign with interest.
What do you mean? I'm the landlord.
Sorry, I agreed to sign.
Why did you agree to sign? Why did you agree? What did I, the landlord, threaten to do?
You threatened to take all the stuff.
Yeah. That's what I threatened to do. Now, did you owe me the rent anyway?
Yeah,
Yeah.
haven't paid the rent.
You hadn't paid the rent. Did I have the right to go in and take your stuff and sell it?
Maybe not, but I mean, you have the right to claim the money in some way. So
In
possibly.
some way, sure. And what the court said, and this is an older case from 1840, the court said duress to goods will not make a contract voidable. Duress has to be to you. It has to be a threat to you. It doesn't have to be physical. It could be financial. So this idea that it doesn't have to be physical, it could be, is another example, but you can read it, that it could be financial is called economic duress. Now, let's say that I have a deal with, who's I going to buy the Baijiu from? Tiffany. Tiffany, you here? There you are.
Hello?
Yeah, so I'm going to buy that Baijiu from you and sell it at all my restaurants. But recently, Tiffany, your family started making Hongjiu, red wine also. And I want that red wine. It's really good. And you say, listen, David, we're sorry. We already have people we're selling the red wine to. And I say, oh yeah? Well, here, get this. If you don't sell me the red wine, I'll break the contract for Baijiu. And you need this Baijiu contract. I'm your biggest buyer. And I say, listen, I'm going to break the contract. You can't stop me. If you don't sell me that red wine, I'm going to break the contract. Am I threatening you?
I think that I would be very confused because I would think it's a counteroffer.
Does it sound fair, what I'm saying?
I don't think it sounds fair.
Why am I saying I won't buy the Baijiu?
Because
Is it because I don't want the Baijiu?
No. Because
Then
I should be selling it to this buyer because the buyer wants it.
I want the Baijiu. So why am I saying I would break the contract?
That could hurt me, probably.
Yes. I'm trying to hurt you if you don't do what I want.
Right.
And that's a threat. I'm threatening you. If you don't do what I want, I'll try to hurt you financially. It's not emotional. It's not physical. But this is the third kind of way to hurt someone, is financial. So in the actual case called Austin Instrument, which is the famous case for this, it's kind of more complicated, but it is an economic duress case. In this case, you had this company, Laurel. And Laurel had a $6 million contract with the Navy to provide radar sets. Now, Laurel Company, hired Austin. And Austin was going to make parts. That's it. So then defendant got another contract with the Navy, and they told Austin, hey, we like working with you. If you give us a good price, you can help us on contract number 2. And Austin said, no, if you don't give us contract number 2, we won't give you the parts for contract number 1. And Laurel said, you can't do that. You already agreed. We have a contract. You're going to give us the parts for contract number 1. And Austin said, we could break that contract. You can't make us. And Laurel said, you're threatening us. You can't threaten us. If your prices are good, we'll use you for contract number 2. But you're trying to threaten us. And the court said, yeah, you can't do that. They're trying to take away Laurel's power to choose who they want to work with. And that's Laurel's free will. to choose who they want to work with. I mean, Austin was really stupid here, because if they just gave a good price, they could have, Laurel was happy to work with them, but they thought they could make a demand like this. And it's totally unfair, it's threatening. Now, sometimes it's not a threat. What if, Crystal, you want to open a restaurant in Shanghai, okay? And I say to you, Crystal, I'd really like to be an investor in your restaurant, you know? And in fact, my father, he is in the Chamber of Commerce. And my mother, she's in the Shanghai government. And if you let me be an investor, I, you know, could probably make things easier for you. I mean, I can't promise anything, but my mother and father both know people. We could probably help you to get a license for the liquor, for the fire department. We could probably help. But I'd like to have a cheaper price than everybody else. Everybody else invests 100,000. Let me invest 60,000 and get the same amount of shares because I could help you. Am I threatening you, Crystal?
Yeah, in some way, but it's more.
Why?
Like,
how am I saying I'm going to hurt you?
but you are.
Did I say I'm going to hurt you?
No.
No, I said I'm going to help you.
Yeah.
So it's not duress. It's undue influence. I'm trying to use my personal influence here. Is that fair to everybody else who pays 100,000 RMB for 10%? Everybody pays, Tiffany paid 100,000 for 10% of your business. Junpyo paid 100,000 for 10%. Nicola paid 100,000 for 10%, but I'm going to pay 60,000 for 10%? Tiffany, are you okay with that?
If I didn't know, I wouldn't be.
Sorry?
If I didn't know the other percentage. Yes.
No, you know. You know
I
how
know,
much
yeah.
everybody paid.
Okay, yeah, I'll be offended.
Yeah, it's not fair. Why do I get to have a cheaper price? And the answer is I pressured Crystal. Did I force her? No. Did I threaten her? No. Did I pressure her? Kind of. And that's still not fair. It's not fair to everybody else. Why should you get a better deal? Why should I get a better deal? Because my mom knows somebody. That's not fair. What I'm doing is I'm exploiting your vulnerabilities. Now, where this usually happens, in China, this definitely happens with family relationships. But where this more often happens in the West is not with family relationships. It's with relationships that we learned about in torts, what we call proximity, legal relationships. So let's say that I'm your lawyer. Nicola, I'm your lawyer. And Nicola, you're opening a restaurant, okay, in Shanghai. And everybody is paying 100,000 RMB for 10%. Caitlin pays you 100,000 RMB. Harry pays you 100,000 RMB. Carlotta pays you 100,000 RMB for 10%. And I say, Nicola, as your lawyer, you know, you sometimes get into trouble. And I'm just thinking maybe I should get a discount. You know, maybe 80,000 for 10%. And I'm not threatening you. I'm just saying, I'm your lawyer. Now, are you going to feel pressured to give me a better price?
No,
Why not?
I can hire another lawyer. I can say this is I'm not biting to give you a discount just because you are my lawyer. I can find another one if you
Maybe. What if I'm a really good lawyer for you? I know all of your company secrets and you trust me and I've
and
been your
now-
lawyer for 10 years.
Now it's more complicated. But still, if you disclaim all my secrets, I can sue you because
I'm
you
not
are
saying
blocking your.
I'm not gonna do anything, man. I'm a
Okay.
good lawyer,
No.
but I've been your lawyer for 10 years. Doesn't that mean anything to
Yeah.
you?
No, you have been paid for 10 years, so you have your duty, I have mine, so I cannot give you a discount
All
because it's
right.
not fair with my another partner. So
I guess, look, but I'm a very busy lawyer. And when you call, I always answer the phone. But, these days I'm just getting really busy. So maybe I'll have my assistant, Caitlin, work with you sometimes because I'm pretty busy these days.
look, maybe
No,
we
man,
can
it's cool.
do.
It's cool. You don't need to give me a discount. Caitlin will answer the phone when you call.
Oh my God. No, that's not what I want.
Well,
I don't know.
look, I don't know what you want me to do, I'm busy. I'm a busy guy.
Oh my God. Yeah, now you are pressuring me.
Am I threatening you? No,
No,
I'm not
no.
threatening you at all. But I'm pressuring
Yes.
you.
Yeah, I'm feeling pressure now.
And in the law, we need to have something like that. Something that's not threatening, because threatening doesn't happen that much. Pressure actually really does happen quite a lot. Now, sometimes it's extreme. For example, recently some students joined a spiritual group called David's Teachers, run by a very charismatic leader. And part of the beliefs involved giving money to charity. And so one of the students gave her family's inheritance to David's Teachers, this group. 2 years later, the girl decided to leave the spiritual group and she asked for the money back. And David said, "Oh, we're sorry, that's a charitable gift." And she said, "It's undue influence." Did I pressure her by being the leader of this spiritual group? This is an old case, but it was a cult. And if you join a spiritual group of some kind and they say you have to give us all your money, and so in 1887, there was an unmarried woman, she joined and she did give them all the money. She left the sisterhood and then she asked for the stock back and they said the gifts are voidable. Yeah, you can get it back. That is undue influence. The influence of a cult leader is pressure. It's unfair pressure. Now, in fact, if you do read this carefully, as I say, she was disentitled to recover because of lashes. That's very old law, stuff you definitely don't need to know. But what it means is she waited too long. Because look, she joined in 1867. Then she left and started this court case in 1885. It went to court. So she left in 1879. She started the court case 6 years later, or 5 years later. And the court said, "Why'd you wait 5 years? If you wanted the money back, why'd you wait?" And the truth was, she waited until she had some reason that she wanted to hurt this guy. And then she went to court. And so the court said, like, "Sorry, you're trying to use the law." But it is undue influence. Here's how it happens much more often. I get into a car accident with you. Where's my watch? Somebody tell me what time it is. Oh, you're on Shanghai time.
10:40 Shanghai time.
10:40? Okay, I still have time. Wait a minute. Oh, now I need to go get my thing. Hold on a sec. Okay, I can still talk with you even though you can't see me. How exciting is that? So I get into a car accident. It's 9:40. Yeah, there's that time difference. We started at 7. Okay, so we're past 2.5 hours. I hope you guys are okay if I keep you until the end, until 10. Anselm keeps telling me to stop doing this. So much to learn. Okay, this is important. I get into a car accident with you because this happens all the time. Let's say, Isaac, you there?
I got class
Okay.
10:40.
You got to go? Okay.
I mean, I can ask the
No,
teacher.
it's okay. I need to talk to you later, though. I need to
Right.
send me a WeChat, okay?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Sounds good.
Okay, bye. Okay, Harry, I get into a car accident with you, and your insurance company offers me $200. And I think, it's my knee. My knee kind of hurts, but it's not a big deal. So I don't really read the forms. I sign them and they give me 200. Later, I go to the hospital because my knee is still hurting. And I find out it's going to cost me $50,000. I sue the insurance company. Will I get the money?
Maybe not, because it's
Why
already
not?
it's already settled.
Yeah. What made it settled?
When you accepted the $200.
That's it. This was my own carelessness. Now, sometimes it's not. Like, for example, if I get into a car accident with you and the insurance company says, so my knee hurts, and I say, I need to go to the hospital, and the insurance company says, listen, we deal with this all the time. We have hundreds of accidents every year that we deal with. There's no real problem with your knee. It's very common. We're going to give you $1,000. You should just accept it. In that sense, they're trying to pressure me. So it's very common for insurance companies to try to pressure people. Is this undue influence? Yes. Why? Because they have so much power and you have so little power. Especially, here's where it's a real problem. What if you really need the money? Let's say I hurt my knee and I really need to go to the hospital, and I want to get a lawyer and go to court, but I need this money right now to pay the doctor. And the insurance company says, well, listen, we'll give you $4,000 right now. And I say, no, I talked to a lawyer. The lawyer said he thinks it should be $25,000. And the company says, well, we'll give you $4,000 right now, and that's it. Now they're trying to pressure me because they have the money and I need the money. So at that point, what I would do is I would go to a lawyer and say, they're trying to pressure me, but I need the money. And here's what the lawyer would probably do is say, I'm going to contact the company and tell them that you can take the money, but we're going to sue them for undue influence. So in that case, you could get the money. But if you don't say anything and you just take the money, you need evidence to show they're trying to pressure you. Now, sometimes the pressure is a little bit kind of crazy. So imagine that I really need the money. Okay, my daughter got in a car accident and she's in the hospital, and I really need to borrow money. So I go to a company. I go to Harry's company. Okay, and Harry, you have a credit card. You work for a credit card company. And I say, hey, I really need to borrow money. And you say, yeah, no problem. We can give you money, 300% interest. And I say, dude, that's crazy. And you say, hey, do you want the money? And I say, I need the money. You say, okay, 300% interest. And I don't know what to do because my daughter's in the hospital. I need the money. So I signed the contract with you. Do I have to pay you 300%? I mean, is that like this in this insurance example? I signed the contract.
Yeah, I think so.
I don't have to pay you.
You don't have to.
Yeah. What's the difference between this case with the insurance company and that example?
Is it undue influence?
It's partially. You could look at it that way. You're definitely pressuring me. But what's the difference between that and this? Anybody? What's the difference?
But do they offer that to like everyone, or is it just you specifically?
You don't know. Anybody? What's the difference? It's simple. That's crazy. And this is not. Them saying, hey, just, settling for the insurance company for $900. Is that insane to settle for $900? That's not like 2 cents or $1. I mean, it's $900. That's money. Is it as much money as the plaintiff wanted? No. Oh, I wrote this wrong. It's not 200, it's 900. So it's $900. That's still good money. In my example with Harry, that's just crazy. 300% interest. That is unconscionable. It is too unreasonable to accept. It's similar to undue influence. I want to get through this last one and then we're done. It's similar to undue influence in that there is pressure, but it's just, here's the definition. That is a contract such as no sensible man, not under delusion, duress, or in distress would make, and no honest and fair man would accept. Oh, I think I have these reversed. Make and accept. So is that a fair and honest contract for Harry to make? 300% interest? No. And would I accept that? And if I was not in distress? No way. He's taking advantage of me. And it's it's just too unreasonable. Another way to say this is that it's shocking. That's the other word we use for this. It's shocking. The court has the power to just say, this is too unreasonable, it's shocking. There's two kinds of this sort of shocking, unconscionable, unreasonable behavior. It could be procedural or it could be substantive. So procedural is really about the bargaining process. If one person is very educated and the other one is different, is not educated, that's about the procedure of making the contract. So let's say that I make a contract with Junpyo. Let's say, Junpyo, I have a PhD and an MBA and I know all about business and you never went to high school, and I give you a contract that's 30 pages long, full of legal language and business language and complicated sentences, and you can barely understand it. And then you sign it. Is that contract valid? Probably not. Especially if it was really bad to you and really good to me. That's so unreasonable to give somebody a 30-page contract full of legal language. It's so shocking. You would never do that. No honest and fair man would ever do that. It's totally unreasonable. Substantive is the terms of the contract. Like, this is my contract with Harry, 300% interest. It's not that I don't understand. I understand what he wants. He's not trying to trick me. It's just the content of the contract is so oppressive. It's so one-sided. It's so good to him and so bad to me that it's just shocking. Now, here's where this happens most commonly. And here's the example. Defendant is a businessman and he opens a furniture store in a very poor area. And this happens a lot. And he offers to sell a package, the starting a home package, refrigerator, stereo, computer, television, AC, sofa, furniture, everything you need, to an uneducated local man. And the contract says, all payments now and hereafter made by purchaser shall be credited pro rata on all outstanding leases, bills, and accounts due the company by purchaser at the time each such payment is made. Now, the uneducated local man does not understand what any of this means. I mean, look, we're educated and we don't know what it means. You'd have to go to law school or business school to understand some of these terms. Each such, that's not even English, right? I mean, but it is. It's just legal language or financial language. What does this really mean? Well, I tell this uneducated guy, Here's what it means. I'm going to give you all of this stuff today, and you pay me $50 a month, but you can't be late. And he says, okay, it's whatever, 100 months or 300 months or whatever it is. You can't be late. But that's not really what this means. What this means is you give me $50 a month. I'll give you all the stuff today. You give me $50 a month. And when you're done paying in 200 months, it's all yours. But if you pay for 195 months and then the next month you're late by 1 day, I get it all back and I keep all the money. That's what pro rata means. It means you never get equity. Now, you'd have to understand what equity actually means. So if you buy a house or a car, let's say, Crystal, do most people pay for their house all at once?
No, I pay
No.
installment.
Right. So usually you pay a deposit, right? You pay the first part, maybe 10% of the price. Now, when you pay 10% of the price, Crystal, do you own any of the house?
Not yet.
You do. You pay 10%, you own 10%. You pay another 5%, you own another 5%. You pay 50%, you own 50%. That's how most mortgages work, and car payments and everything. You pay more, you own more. Every time you pay, you own more. Now, the reason is, let's say I'm the bank and you bought a house and you've been paying me, and I know I'll let you go soon. You've been paying me, Crystal, for 3 years. Now you own 50% of the house and I am the bank and we own 50% of the house. Can you sell the house to Harry?
Cannot sell.
You can.
But only own 50%.
Yes, I know. 50% is owned by the bank, but that 50% you owned has value. You don't need to own 100% of something to sell it. What can you sell? You can sell that 50%. And almost every contract with a house or a car, the bank can't stop you. So you'd be selling 50% of the house to Harry. And then Harry will, we call it, assume the debt. He will still have to pay the bank the rest of the money. So you're not going to get as much money as you could if you owned the house completely. But what this guy is doing in this example, that's terrible. Saying you have to pay me every month, but you never own anything. Not even 1%, nothing. That's totally unreasonable. And the court said, this is absolutely unconscionable. And they remanded it to a lower court. But this is the classic example from 1964 of unconscionability. The facts are the same. They were selling this guy this really expensive package and saying, pay us every month, but you don't own anything. And that's terrible. That's shocking. Nobody would do that. This guy would never have agreed if he had more education. And he got taken advantage of. Oh,
There is a series in Netflix called Dirty Money.
I've heard of it, but I've never seen it.
Yeah, it's in the second episode. It's related to loans.
Oh, yeah.
Long time I saw it, but this is in the guy. There's a kind of legal protection because the firm was owned by Indians Americans and people couldn't sue them.
I was working in legal aid in Hawaii after I finished law school. And one of the things that was really common, because a lot of Hawaiians are not very well educated. Their education system isn't great. They're very similar to like the Native American community. And what banks were doing is they would give what's called a ninja loan with a balloon payment. And this is what caused 2008, the financial crisis was part of this. Most of you guys might have seen movies about it, about debt and things like that, but there was a whole other side where people lost their homes. And here's what happened. They'd give a ninja loan. Ninja, no income, no job, approved. So the bank will give you a loan, but you have no income and no job. That's a terrible loan. Why would the bank do that? They know you're never going to be able to pay them back. Why would they do it? Because of the second thing, a balloon payment. A balloon payment says you can buy a house today and you can pay, let's say, 2% of the money. So that's almost nothing. So you put down, $5,000 on a $600,000 home or something, you put down just a tiny bit of money. And every month you pay us a little bit at the bank, just 1%. Great interest rate. But if you're late, even 1 day late, balloon, your payment becomes 600%. And now instead of paying us, $100 a month, now you owe us $6,000 a month. Why are we doing that? Because we know you're never going to be able to pay it. We gave you a loan that you didn't earn because you could never pay it back. We then sold you a house knowing that it's going to balloon. Why did we do it? So we get the house. And you're the one with the bad credit. Your credit is ruined. And you put down a deposit on this house. You lost your money, you lost your credit, and the bank gets to keep it. It was terrible. But a lot of the protections in the law had been removed over time after the Great Depression. A lot of things were put into American law to protect people. And then over many years, this happened slowly. This didn't happen in 2007. This happened over many years, that very slowly and quietly, different people, in the government removed these protections. But yeah, that's what happened. And it was unconscionable. It was absolutely, textbook unconscionability. Okay, we will stop there. I will put up a quiz and everything for this coming week. Next week, we'll do contracts 3. That'll be very quick. Thank you guys, and I will see you later. Oh, let me give, I'm sure you guys don't want to stay, but let me give control to Harry. Okay, Harry, you're the host now.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.
Okay, see you guys. Bye.